So, you've probably heard this idea of Jesus the Yogi, right? Well, let's get into the theological critique. It's a fascinating idea for sure, but how does it really square with traditional Christian belief?
We're going to break this critique down into 4 key areas.
And it all boils down to 2 totally different views of who Jesus actually is.
All right, first up is what's called the identity crisis, a huge part of the critique.
The argument is this view strips away what makes Jesus unique in Christianity.
See, he becomes just another teacher, not the one-of-a-kind God-man central to the faith.
Okay, moving on to the second point, how this can dilute core Christian doctrines.
The big concern here is the theological syncretism, basically blurring the lines between different beliefs. And when that happens, foundational ideas like sin and atonement can get watered down. Which really begs the question, how are you saved? Through inner knowledge or Christ's work? Section 3. Now let's talk about the history here, or maybe the lack of it. This whole idea about Jesus traveling to India, there's just no real historical evidence for it. Critics call this eisegesis, basically reading your own modern ideas into the ancient text.
And that's a big deal, because it can weaken the authority of the Gospels themselves.
And finally, Section 4. What's the real-world impact on the Christian message?
Well, critics say it makes the gospel pretty ambiguous and undermines its unique claims.
So let's just recap the 4 main arguments of the critique we've walked through. And you can see how this framework just really doesn't line up with Orthodox Christianity. So in the end, while Christ the Yogi might seem like a cool bridge for dialogue, the critique is that it undermines the core truths of the historic biblical Jesus. Which leaves us with a big question. Where's the line between interfaith respect and doctrinal compromise?